It's a funny thing. When I was a little kid, he was a bus driver, and sometimes I used to go with him. And I asked him, why is it that some people have a tin can on a stick for a mailbox, and other people have some really grand construction built out of bricks or stones or something? And he said, well, it's because they can't really afford to have a great big long front fence all fancied up the way they do in town, so the mailbox represents the relationship between the landholder and the land. It's how much effort they want to put into it. He said it's got to hold the mail and keep it out of the rain and the wind. It's got to keep a loaf of bread there, and it's got to be different enough so your visitors know where to turn off the road. So, later on, when I got a bit of land that I was responsible for, I decided to build myself a mailbox. And I got a wattle tree that had been knocked out by a bulldozer, and I cut it off so its 11 branches became 11 legs sticking up out of the ground, all coming together to the trunk. And on top of the trunk I put a sheet metal icosahedron, and it was 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot. Okay, and 3 of the faces opened up at the front for the door. Trouble is, it was twice the thickness of a beer can, and 3 different times the local rednecks busted it. And eventually I decided to get pig-headed, and I had some chainsaw milled timber. It was offcuts, and I then built a wooden icosahedron that was a cubit by a cubit by a cubit, and I put the cage around the panel beaded foot by foot by foot icosahedron, and I stuck the whole thing on the original 11-legged stump. And that was my 5th attempt at a mailbox. There isn't any way I can locate the photographs of the original, but this is what the 5th attempt looked like. Just a little bit spectacular, and of course they busted it too. So more or less out of spite, I spent half a day straightening out the sledge-hammered cage, wired it back together, and I hung it on a tree where it wouldn't be in anybody's way, over by the fence as it was, because I'd decided to build something different. Once again, it was an icosahedron, but the icosahedron was 9 inches by 9 inches by 9 inches by 9 inches, and it was suspended on springs and wires in the centre of a star tetrahedron. Just about vandal-proof, I thought. Whereas the big icosahedron, inside the big icosahedron, was able to move several degrees in each direction. In this version, the little icosahedron, it could rotate 30 degrees in any direction on its springs. And I thought, well, even the vandals are going to leave that one alone. Well, yeah, you know what Thought did? Jumped out of an aeroplane, pulled the ripcord, and he fell to the earth watching his camping gear sail up into the sky over his head. However, you should never underestimate the destructive power of a bunch of rednecks confronted by a smart-ass Greenie. So here's what's left of the star tetrahedron, beaten to a pulp by the rednecks, who were affronted and offended by the fact that somebody wanted to have a different mailbox. Nobody knows what they did with the wooden icosahedron's remains. Presumably somebody took it away and used it for firewood. Here we have all that's left of the tree stump with the 11 legs the mailbox used to stand on. It's actually a lesson in karma. Up there's the remains of a wheel track, and over there's the remains of a wheel track from a car that came off this corner, out of control, having come from town too fast and forgotten the corner was there, and then overcorrected, turned more than 180 degrees and slid off the road here, rolled, digging tracks in the dirt, and landing on this tree stump. And the amazing thing is that the Grapevine has told me that whereas the fire brigade via the school bus let me know who it was who busted the hippie's mailbox, I later discovered that that was the individual who busted his four-wheel drive on the hippie's mailbox stand. Isn't karma and synchronicity a wonderful thing? And now you know why Greenies aren't allowed to have mailboxes, because a tin can on a stick is all you're allowed to have when you live in the redneck hinterland of northern New South Wales. No matter how much you like to think that you're allowed to be individual or different or artistic, for every member of the arty farty glitterati there's 100 mindless rednecks who just don't want anything to be different, because different is challenging and hard to understand. And after all, what's wrong with being normal? Eh? Isn't normal enough? Why would you want to be different? I mean, first you might want to be having a different style of a mailbox, and who knows where that's going to be ending. I mean, difference is difference and difference is difference. The next thing you know, you might have a bloody solar panel on the roof of your car and be saving a third of your fuel. I mean, we can't let people be different. Everybody's got to be normal. Because everybody knows that normality is good. Everybody knows it's normal to waste fuel and fart carbon monoxide and cause global warming. Everybody knows only Greenies worry about such things and go sticking solar panels on their cars, which is probably why I made myself a different mailbox, because I thought that would demonstrate my relation to the land. An icosahedron standing on an upside down tree stump, and then an icosahedron in a wooden icosahedron cage, and then an icosahedron in a star tetrahedron cage. However, in the case of the mailbox, the Greenies won. In the case of the solar panel on the car, I'm saving 5.3 litres a week, and they're all just paying money to fart fumes.